everyone. We are trying an experiment, and thank you for being my guinea pigs. I'll just put that in ahead of time. So I'm going to go ahead and just talk through these slides as we go. Um, and what I'm going to have you do is occasionally I'll have you stop the YouTube video and go into the Nearpod students self-paced lesson to do the activity, and then you'll come back to the YouTube and we'll continue on that way. So here we go. Um, so obviously the first one, you do not need to make a name tent unless you are that far gone as we get close to Christmas break. So we will just continue on with that. And I just want to say before we get started, thank you so much for all the work you guys have been doing. I've been in most of y'all's classrooms, and what I'm seeing is awesome. And I just appreciate so much all the hard work that you guys have been putting into your LFS plans. So let's get started. So we're going to be talking about rigor. What is it? Why do we need to increase rigor in our learning focused lesson plans? Aren't they rigorous enough with what we're already doing with our learning focused lessons? So here's where we are in the world today. You can read this quote. We're currently preparing students for jobs that don't yet exist, using technologies that haven't been invented in order to solve problems we don't even know are problems yet. What kind of skills do you think our kids need to be able to have to be able to prepare for these kinds of jobs? So at this point, I need you to stop this video and go into your Nearpod and do the collaborative exercise, and then I'll meet you back here when you get done. Okay, so you guys have already spent a little time on there. Hopefully you guys are seeing some of your all's answers as you guys have shared how you feel we're doing, what we need to be doing as middle school teachers to prepare our kids for today's world. So let's kind of look at where we are right now. As far as the data goes, we've already talked about this. We're basically at about 35, 40% or so as far as our proficiency rate in ELA and math. And you can kind of look at this screen and kind of see it's pretty much stayed steady. There hasn't been a huge gain or loss in that. We're just kind of just maintaining. With our LFS rollout, most of y'all are pretty much on board. You're getting through the lessons and you're creating them. Obviously, it's pretty messy right now, and as we get to the end of the year, I'm sure we're all going to be looking at our lesson plans and wanting to go back and tweak and adjust them. But we're doing them, so there we go. So that's awesome that we've gotten this far. So what do we have already in our favor, working towards having our kids raise that proficiency level? Our climate PBIS team that was here went on and on about how wonderful the school climate was and how impressed they were about the amount of discipline referrals we had, or the lack of discipline referrals. We have a great staff. I've told you guys this before. I would put our staff up against anybody's anywhere. You guys are amazing, and I'm just so privileged to get to go into your classrooms and see what you guys do. And you guys are all just incredibly talented people, and we're smart, and we've got this. So if anybody can get our kids functioning at a proficient level, it's us. So, and we have the support of our central office. Dr. Harris is committed to helping our kids achieve and be as prepared as possible for the next year. So we've got everything in our corner. So it's just a matter really now about just finding what strategies or what things can we do, tweak what we're already doing. All right, so the next question then leads us to, how do we increase the rigor of learning focused lessons? First of all, what is rigor? What does that even mean? We know that rigor is important, but the problem is that there are many misconceptions about rigor and many interpretations about its meaning. So as you're looking at this prayer box, which words do you feel need to go into that box? Which ones go where? So just take a minute and kind of look at that and see what you think. Where would you put those words if you were moving them around? True rigor is creating an environment in which each student is expected to learn at high levels. Each student is supported so he or she can learn at high levels, and each student demonstrates learning at high levels. Each student is expected to learn and to be supported and to demonstrate that learning. This is what we mean when we talk about rigor. It's not enough to just have a rigorous curriculum. The curriculum must be carried out with rigorous instruction and assessment. It's not enough to raise the bar without providing students with the support they need to work at high levels of challenge. And most importantly, true rigor is predicated, on an unwavering belief that all students can and will perform at high levels. And most importantly, true rigor is predicated on an unwavering belief that all students can and will perform at high levels. Okay, so what are the criteria that define rigor? These are the five components that LFS, Learning Focus, believes based on their research, and not theirs only, but a lot of people, reflect the rigor necessary to both raise our students' thinking, and support their process of learning. We're going to go through each one of these briefly, and we'll of course be unpacking these more as we go along. So you can kind of just read those and see each one of those. All right. So the first one is alignment and integration of standards. Um, Look at the difference in what students used to be asked to do in this eighth grade standard versus what they're asked to do now. The learning goals are certainly different, and it's vital that the assignments students receive reflect these same expectations. Let's take a minute and look at that. The second one is critical thinking with higher order thinking. Another criteria of rigor is critical thinking with higher order thinking. When students have an opportunity to think critically, to compare and contrast, identify patterns, analyze, evaluate, construct arguments about the content they are learning, it gives them a purpose for thinking about what they are learning and deepens their understanding. Because of this, current standards emphasize higher order thinking. Deepening understanding with reading comprehension strategies. The new generation of standards emphasizes that reading comprehension instruction is a responsibility shared among all content teachers with a focus on 7 key skills. We will learn about these more in depth as we move along. Complexity of content. Another criteria of rigor is the complexity of content, the sequential cumulative progression of skills and understandings throughout the school year, so that by the end of the year, students are ready to go on to the next grade level. The best way to do this is by consistently incorporating higher order thinking and reading comprehension strategies into every lesson. We cannot forget about engagement. That's the glue that holds students' attention until they get it. For students to truly be engaged in their learning, they have to see it as relevant and meaningful. Again, as we go on, you'll learn about several ways to engage students in their learning. So, from what we've talked about, are there any words that you might move in this box that you had in other boxes, or are you pretty much staying with what you put the first time? All right, so at this point, you're going to stop the YouTube video, and I want you to go back into the classroom. There is a YouTube link there, and I would like for you to watch this video of this kindergarten teacher as she teaches a lesson on inference to her children. And I would like for you just to pay attention to how is she incorporating higher order thinking how is she making that lesson rigorous, even for these little children? So when you finish that, um, you can go on to the Nearpod slides, and it should be self-directed at that point, and you can go ahead and finish from there. Thank you so much. I appreciate you enduring this with me. It's not perfect, but it's a work in progress. And just FYI, this might be a good tool for you to use with your kids when you need to differentiate instruction and you have kids who are struggling. This is an alternative you can use to having to sit down and tutor the child. You might be able just to make a video, just supplemental material. So, just something, another tool in your toolbox. Thanks, guys.